Thanks for listening to the Clive Barker Podcast, episode 110. This was 2015 in review, where Jose and Rob and I'm Ryan, we went over the 2015 in our top 10 favorite things Clive Barker releases and news and stuff like that and events of 2015. So it was a lot of fun. This is our first episode of 2016, and we have a new sponsor. So we thank Jordy, Jorte, and Jordy Calendar for their support. That's an iOS and Android calendar app. So we thank them for supporting us, and thank you. This is episode 110. Welcome back. So we haven't had an episode in a while now. We've done a couple of audio commentaries, but we haven't had an episode in like a month or more.
Yeah, and I would just like to bring this detail on the table, is that today is 4 years since the first time we recorded an episode for the Clive Barker Podcast.
That's cool. Cool piece of history.
Yeah. Our very first episode ever was 2011 in review, which I think was like 3 hours long.
Yeah, we had our friend Roger join us, and I think we might have had someone else. I don't know.
And we did every single piece of news for the entire year we talked about.
Yeah, we're not going to do that on this episode, because otherwise, especially now that one of the things that's really amazing is the fact that when you joined the team, Rob, you really brought a lot to the blog, because you've been doing all these news posts and stuff. So it's amazing how far we've come from just a testing podcast. Like we were doing an episode, and I remember Facebook Maurice was telling me yesterday that I posted something saying tomorrow's going to be a trial run for the Clive Barker Podcast, and we're going to do a recording and blah blah blah. So I remember that, and I was like, I have no idea how this is going to go. I don't think I've had a lot of phone communication with you, Ryan, at that point. So we were like, well, let's do this and see how it goes.
Yeah,
and it was really fun
from the forum.
That's right. Yeah. So it's been great.
Still there, but no, people don't really post on it that much.
That's right. It's on CliveBarkerFans.com.
I remember y'all just asking me to do. I thought I was just going to be doing news and stuff like that. Then it slowly branched out to like, hey, you want to do the podcast? Well, sure, and then doing articles and features, and that stuff's been fun. So
it's been a huge help.
Yeah,
it has. So we've decided to each of us select a top 10 for the year, and so we will each take a turn saying one thing, and then we'll discuss how that has impacted the year for us and how much we liked it, and that's how this 2015 year in review is going to go.
Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Before we get started on that, we want to take a little time to thank our sponsor, Jordy. It's a calendar app. So Jose, did you get a chance to install that on your phone?
I actually have just found it on the Android markets on Google Play, so I'm going to install that and use it. Although I'm not a very busy person right now, so. But hey, we'll use that for stuff for the podcast.
Yeah. We have a Google Calendar that we're using for the podcast, and once we get it, get more anniversaries of things in there, we'll probably start making that public. But Jordy is a customizable calendar and organizer, and it's got icons and themes and wallpaper settings available to make your calendar look the way you want it. If you have an iPhone or iPad, Jordy can sync with your default iOS calendar, so you don't need to re-enter your calendar appointments. And if you don't have an iPhone, don't worry, Jordy is available, like we just said, on the Android Marketplace also. So if you use Google Calendar, Jordy can sync with your Google Calendar events, and it offers their own online cloud service. Jordy Cloud, it's called, to keep your entries backed up and your calendar in sync across different devices. Jordy has a unique feature called Event Calendars, where you can follow calendar events or news on a variety of topics, like sports and stuff. And for horror fans, they have there's actually, you can follow Shock Till You Drop, the blog. They've specifically signed up for Jordy Calendar to for their
wonderful
to go out on there.
Awesome. And they've been one of our supporters, one of our sponsors from the Kickstarter. Jordy is the calendar and organizer application that fully manages your schedule. And it has over 25 million downloads from all over the world. And you can find it on Jorty, so that's JORTE.com. And so I'm going to give that a try, and then I'm going to write a review about it.
And if you follow the link, they made a special link just from our site to see how well our listeners are clicking through, I guess. So it's bit.ly/pinhead calendar. So they made a special link just for us.
Oh, nice!
Awesome.
So if you go check it out or download it, please follow that link first, and we'll have that in the show notes and on a banner ad on the website. But it's bit.ly/pinhead calendar. All right, and we thank Jordy for their support and for sponsoring our podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jordy.
All right, so I was going to bring a 6-sided die to roll to see who went first, but I was running kind of late and I didn't grab one.
Oh, I have one.
I've got some. Oh, okay.
All right, so who wants to be? We'll have somebody 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, and 5 and 6.
Okay, I'll be 3 and 4.
Okay, I'll be 5 and 6, and Rob, you can be 1 and 2.
All right,
okay.
That sounds fun.
Okay. So I got a die here from Convolution 2013 where I saw one of the screenings of the Cabal Cut. Cool. So I'm going to roll the dice.
All right.
And we got number 1.
Okay, that's Rob. So
that's me.
You can pick one from your list, or you can do them in whatever order you want.
Well, big thing for me this year was the Clive Barker answering questions. It was very nice of him to take some time out and answer the questions for us, and especially, I was really getting into his art, and he talked about, I guess, how he likes people to, look at his art, how he likes the person to become a part of his art, how he approaches his art. So I really enjoyed that, and I asked him another question about why he uses objects in his story, such as the limit configuration, and why to use those as they have so much power. It's like objects. He said a great answer is that objects have power, and he brought up another thing is that, like, are there any objects in your house that have you think of and look at that have power or a sense of power? Yeah. And I thought that was those were really good answers he gave, and that was probably just being able to get an answer from him on something was very enlightening, I guess, because he opened my mind up.
He views the world and the way that he looks at things like magic, right? I mean,
yeah.
Well, the answer of Clive Barker to that question of yours was that objects do have power. Think of the memories associated with objects in your very own home. Don't you own things that just by the very act of looking at them transport you into vivid memories of how, why, and when you acquire them? I know I do. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is more meaningful to us as humans is like pictures, photographs, like family pictures, for example.
That's what after he said that, I went and got a baby a rattle?
Uh-huh.
Baby rattle when I was a child. I just started thinking all these memories with it when I was, really young.
I have a pair of little baby shoes that I used to wear when I was a kid. I still have them. And it's hard to imagine that, my feet used to fit in that. But it's great to see like pictures of when you were young, and think about toys that you remember having, but you don't have them anymore. They only exist in your head now, in your memory.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So absolutely.
Or even like a book that, what's cool is like you get like a used book and you're thinking, how many other people have read this and who are they?
Oh gosh,
I've got a lot of used books, and there's like somebody left a letter in one of the books.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, who is this person? They left this letter in here. So that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoyed that, and that's probably my favorite part of 2015.
Yeah. And of course, the downside of this is that it's so Clive Barker's time is so guarded because of his health, and
yeah,
and so that made this extra special. But it also is something that his health hasn't really gotten noticeably better, or at least from our from the fans' perspective. I guess that's kind of the sad part of it, is that he's not any really that much more accessible than he was, and he doesn't, and we, for his own sake, of course, we want him to get better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Of course, yeah. So to me, the Clive Barker episode 100, this was definitely a highlight of the year. It almost didn't happen when we first asked Seraphin. They were like, well, the first response was no, but then we kind of got Ben and Mark to forward our questions to Clive, and it was very generous of Clive to take the time to answer them. Yeah. It's always hard to come up with questions to ask Clive because he's answered so many things over the years. So many interviews.
I know.
And when you're a fan, you try your hardest to keep up and delve deep into his work and his interviews. So you end up knowing a lot of stuff. So it really is hard to come up with questions that you don't know the answer to. But well, that might sound a little presumptuous, but I think we got a few good ones in, not only for ourselves, but for our audience. I had asked him a question before through Revelations on their interview 13, which according to Clive, he really liked, but I answered myself in it, so this was fun.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was really excited that he answered the questions, and and for me, one of them was about the direction of Occupy Midian. It's like, hey, this actually worked. What else can we do? And he was kind of saying basically that it would be selfish to expect that kind of lightning to strike again. And that he just hopes that this inspires other people to try, to do something like this, and maybe they will be more successful, leveraging the fan response to fix some grievance from the past of some artistic thing.
Yeah, because some of them aren't even in the hands of Clive Barker. Like, for example, Hellraiser Bloodline kept being brought up in Occupy Midian.
Yeah.
Because it was a movie that was troubled, and we're doing something about that. But
Exorcist 3.
That one,
Sure.
And that one only has fans, but it doesn't have anyone in. It doesn't have anyone to talk to say, hey, yeah, this was my movie and I want to fix it. Because there's nobody out there that wants to make it better.
Fix it.
Yeah, nobody that was involved, I guess you could say.
That's right. So, episode 100 was a milestone for sure. So should I roll the dice for this next one?
No, we can just go on in chronological order, I think. Yeah. Jose, if you're ready to do your next one.
Okay. So my top two was the Scarlet Gospels. And so all I have to say about this book, I put in my review. I think I did a advanced review, spoiler-free, which you can find in our blog in February of last year. Mm-hmm. And I'll add this to the show notes just in case people have missed it. This book was a long time in the making, and it was finally published to great acclaim, even made it to the New York Times top 10 bestseller list for weeks, which was wonderful. It was a great return to form by Clive. It was very fun seeing Harry D'Amour return and witness the Hell Priest's voyage through hell. Remember, don't call him Pinhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an ambitious epic that maybe got a little too extreme near the end, but it was very enjoyable all the same. Also, there was an Armando and a Ryan at the end of it, so that was an unexpected surprise.
That was awesome.
I love the Scarlet Gospels, and I think that what fans need to do with Clive Barker's stuff is not try to put their own, write their own book in their head and then get disappointed when it doesn't come out the way that they wanted. I think that we're seeing a lot of that with Star Wars right now, too. People had expectations of the way that the movie should have gone, and it's weird. We're even hearing people complaining about that it doesn't follow like the stuff in some extended universe book or whatever, and which that happened during the prequels too. But yeah, anyway, to get not to go off on a Star Wars tangent, but with Scarlet Gospels, we had like 20 years of speculation about this book. And 20 years of news about the progress of it and how big it was, and the different forms of it. And Jose, you did a really long, or I think you were working on a really long essay about the
making. I need to finish that. It's just that sometimes you don't have enough material to go on, and you're just like, well, I don't know anything else to go on unless I could get Clive Barker in my office here and I could ask him some questions. But yeah, I got this draft here. I need to finish. So definitely.
So I think that there was controversy about the Scarlet Gospels once it came out, and speculation about the editing of it or the collaborative writing and stuff like that. But I loved it. I thought it was great. I did. I think if something is really good, you want more of it, and I wanted more. I'm happy with it. I think that it was a little choppy in places. I think in the trip to hell, through hell, it felt like that went by really quickly. Kind of like how in the Fellowship of the Ring, they got from one place to another really fast. Where in the book it took months,
years actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked the death of Pinhead in that book, and it still resonates with me today. It's such a quiet, somber kind of ending instead of being so big.
And he was resigned. He was resigned that he had lost, and that whatever happened to him next.
It's almost like he was at peace or something.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
There's a lot of good subtext in that book that I liked. Yeah. I personally liked my favorite parts of the book. I did a blog on like the 5 best parts from Scarlet Gospels, but I think my favorite part is the opening. That was one of the best openings.
Well, that
I've
was,
read in a long time.
That was like the verbal equivalent of having hooks fly out of a puzzle box and grab into your skin.
Yeah,
or your body.
And I also liked the Harry D'Amour's his journey in the book too, and how the way his character advanced. He became something more, too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into the details if people have not read the book, but...
Well, we already talked about how Pinhead died.
But people have known about that for the last 15 years.
Okay.
So,
yeah. But I just... that part, I thought Harry D'Amour was it's good to, like Jose said, good to read Harry, because I love that character, and I'd love to read more of them. I look forward. Hopefully, Clive's got a few more stories up his sleeve, or something to read.
Well,
more
in
of that,
2015, there was an announcement made by Clive Barker that was posted by Revelations, where they said that the Hellraiser movie that is supposed to come out at some point, that the story Heaven's Reply was being repurposed for the Hellraiser movie. Mm-hmm. And I was going through my notes for this episode, and I saw that was one of the 2015 Revelation news. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm wondering about that, because Heaven's Reply is supposed to be that story that takes place in that island, Devil's Island or something?
Yeah.
It's like a prison or something?
Prison with the toy maker.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm wondering if that's still on the table and if that's being used for whatever drafts are being written or treatments are being done for a future Hellraiser movie, which I don't know when that's going to come out, but, that's another story.
For a brief moment, I considered adding that announcement to my list. But I think really, if you count on stuff like that, it's just opening yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah, I guess, you should take all these announcements with a grain of salt, because Clive is very generous with the announcements, and he has a history of bringing up projects when they're still in their infancy. And sometimes they just don't go through, and it's just the way that these things are, especially in Hollywood.
There's far more that don't go through than the ones that do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely.
Except for that Candyman 4 versus Chucky. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I think
What a bummer.
Jose, you brought that up briefly, or was it
During the commentary
Rob? Yeah,
track.
During the commentary.
It was Jose.
Yeah.
For Candyman
yeah.
3, yes.
Or
Yes,
was that for 3 or 4?
For 4, yeah.
Okay.
It was this thing. I don't know if whoever's listening now, we did a commentary track for Candyman 3, Day of the Dead, and I read this article that was posted back in 2000-something where Tony Todd was talking about possibility for Candyman 4 being a Candyman versus something, and he mentioned the possibility of Chucky, and then he expounded on how Candyman would just punt Chucky. So that was it, yeah.
Yeah, well, and that premise is silly. I mean,
It is,
honestly, and I think actually your idea of Candyman versus the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that doesn't sound actually that bad. I mean,
Yeah,
No, it doesn't.
you can
yeah.
do kind of like a creepy kind of story.
yeah.
You know.
It sounds
Just mixed
good
with
on
some-
paper, but probably in its execution, it would.
Yeah,
be
it would.
Maybe
Maybe a comic book.
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah, that would probably work.
So, Ryan, you're up.
Yes, I'm just seeing if anybody. Okay, nobody else has commented yet. So, I had, of course, Scarlet Gospels for number 1. I loved the Scarlet Gospels. I especially love the UK cover of it, and I like the inside of the American cover. So,
Yes.
they're both great. But my next one, our Kickstarter. Actually, this was one of the most fun things we've done. I mean, ever, and it was just a fundraiser. But it was.
And it took off like lightning. I didn't expect it to.
Our original goal of $100 was probably too low. I think that was a little bit silly to do that because there's so many costs with Kickstarter that if we had just gotten that, we would have had basically nothing.
That's right.
And I didn't realize because like if somebody just got if we had 4 people getting T-shirts and and that was our $100.
Yeah.
That probably would have been a negative.
Yeah.
Sure. So that really, Kickstarter, Fundraiser 3, Hell on Earth.
Yeah.
It was very fun to do.
Yes.
We had a blast making stuff like posters, funny posters for like the commentary tracks that we were promising people on the stretch goals.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. It tells us that there are people out there who really enjoy what we do.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to have the numbers of how many hits and downloads we have on the blog and podcast. Like Rob, you posted that over the last few posts of December. There was one of those was the stats for our blog and podcast.
Yes.
From the server, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's another thing to see people actually provide us with some support to pay for the podcast costs and allow us to become better at what we do. And, like Geordie Calendar and our other sponsor, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, and we'll get into that probably on the next one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been awesome, and you're right. It was exciting. And it's weird, it was just the goals were only $50 apart, so we were constantly having to update. We hit a new stretch goal, and we got so caught up in the excitement of it. I don't think that we realized what kind of a commitment until near the end.
Yeah,
that we were making with all of these commentaries. I think
we actually created basically the whole year. Yeah, an outline of the whole year in episodes. Yeah. More than that.
Yeah, definitely.
The wonders of live.
But it's
recording.
fun. The commentaries are fun. We haven't really gotten any feedback on them. I just was wondering, except for maybe from David.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, we're doing this also as a kind of a way to entertain ourselves while we're doing it. And definitely, like Rob was saying, you had to watch Candyman 3 in 3 sittings because you couldn't get through it in just one sitting. But when you're watching them with friends and you're actually
makes it easier.
Makes it easier, a lot easier. Yeah.
I had the sound down so low when we were doing the commentary that I wasn't really hearing it that well.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps too.
Well, you had seen it before.
Yeah,
so.
I just saw it the night before. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So
I think what I enjoyed about the Kickstarter the most was that, really, I mean, we went how fast we went through our stretch goals.
Yeah.
It was just a weekend. It was like a weekend.
Yeah.
it was crazy.
That's all. It was like, that was,
And since
that just showed us something, like Jose said, it showed us how people like what, we do, and that's very appreciative.
And since our initial goal was only $100, it was sort of interesting to see every week or whatever. Okay, now we're at 1,300% of our original goal.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, we got to 1,450 out of 100. So that helped a lot. Of course, most of that money went towards the backer awards and stuff. So it's not like we got to split up 1,450.
No, it trickled down to our audience and a lot of cool stuff that the USB cards with the episodes and the T-shirts and the baskets, the book baskets and stuff like that. So yeah.
By the way, I love that T-shirt, and Joey loves his. He keeps putting his on then he tells me that I have to wear mine if he's wearing his.
Oh, that's adorable.
He calls it his Hawaiian shirt because I think he gets confused because I wear Hawaiian shirts all the time.
Oh yeah.
I wore that I told you at the toy show.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people were like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, this is just a podcast. I do go on. Told them about the podcast, so I don't know if they joined, but I did do some advertising for the podcast there."
Amazing, yeah. I wore my T-shirt a few times when I went out. Nobody asked me about it, but I'm still out there preaching it.
Nobody asks me about it either, and I've never heard anything from the preschool teachers about it either, which I thought that would come up.
Well,
there's nothing really bad about the picture. It's just
Yeah, I thought people would say, "Well, what is that?" But that's okay. Oh yeah, last year at New Year's, I was on Twit This Week in Technology. They had their New Year's countdown in every time zone.
Okay.
And so I was representing Alaska, and I told them about the Clive Barker podcast, and I heard some of the crew cheering in the background.
Yes, I wanted to hear that, but I could never find it.
Yeah, well, and you would have had to sift through 12 hours of footage to get to my part.
I went through 3 videos, and I just couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was one of the last ones because of the Alaska time zone, being what it is.
I actually am very happy that stretch goals ended up making for our lineup for 2016 because it kind of takes away the stress of, especially in the first year or two when we were just me and you, Ryan.
Yeah.
And we were constantly wondering, what should we do next? And it's well, we haven't read this book yet. Maybe we can do just a news episode. Now we have an overabundance of ideas, of things we want to deliver for 2016, like commentary tracks and all that stuff. Video reviews and stuff like that. Yeah,
I think in a way probably the thing that hampers us the most is that we do this every other week, but we just don't have time to do it every week.
Yeah.
If we did it every week, we could fit in more interviews and stuff like that.
If some generous millionaire had given us $200,000, we would have gone weekly.
That was one of the stretch goals.
Yeah. The idea behind that was that it would be like our salary.
Yeah.
So that we could, not have to deal with our other life.
It's amazing. I mean, kudos to everybody that we mentioned in that Backer Thanks episode, like Elena DeGarmo, I think
Thomas
Ben Warren, and I'm going to forget names, so I'm not going to be talking about names. But all these people, David, who contributed to, we love you guys. Seriously, you guys make this a lot more rewarding because we know someone else is paying attention to this, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're actually creating some content that people are actually interested in. And that's basically all we wanted to do in the first place.
And sometimes there are things that we see sort of behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz, that we kind of wish that we hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
or we wish that we could talk about it, but we can't.
Yeah, and that stuff sort of brings us down sometimes, and this is what brings us back up again.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. To quote like an Alaskan expression, for sure.
Is that an Alaskan expression?
Yeah, I didn't.
I see you say that all the time, and your wife Jennifer says it too. So
For sure?
I'm just, yeah, for sure.
Huh. I'll have to pay attention to that. I didn't know that.
Mine is the Peter Atkins interview. I really I really enjoyed that interview a lot because I helped set that up and got talking to Pete for a good couple of months, and really kept in touch with Peter after that. But I really, listen, that's kind of like that was my version of when y'all went to Seraphim and saw Clive. I don't know, because Peter's. I'm a big fan of Peter Atkins, and just being able to talk to him and hear his stories about, the movies, the Hellraiser films, and giving us a little, behind the scenes info about certain things and stuff about, how it was really interesting. It really had nothing to do with any of the Hellraisers. It was about a story about, if you go back and listen to the podcast, he told this really long story about a movie. What was the movie called where he talked about where they kept being optioned and...
that desert one, right? What was it?
Yeah, it was a really good story about how the business works.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really enjoyed that part of it.
How sometimes writers in Hollywood, they make more money out of the scripts that get optioned. Not so much the ones that are turned into movies, but because sometimes every few years they get optioned on a certain script and they get money from that. So it's kind of a revenue thing.
Yeah, and the studios don't want somebody else to take it, so they just keep on paying for it.
Yeah. And I also appreciated him doing a shout-out to the Clive Barker podcast on...
oh, my God, the Arrow Scarlet Box.
Oh, man.
Hellraiser 3 commentary, so that was cool. Very nice.
Not just to the Clive Barker podcast, but to you specifically, Rob.
Yeah. I did not
That's awesome.
expect, that to happen. I was just joking when I said it.
Yeah.
But he actually brought that up.
He's a really warm, cool guy. And that was awesome that you set that up and that we got to talk to him. And not all of our interviews, or not all of the people that we talk with are are as giving or as easy to talk with. Mm-hmm. I think as he was. So that was great.
He was very accessible, and if there's one thing that's a real challenge and raises the bar on the podcast episodes, are interviews. We try to find and contact these people we admire and who have written about Clive Barker's work, or are authors in their own right, or actors who have played iconic roles, or art merchants who know their skill. So I had on number 4, I had Peter Atkins, Thomas Nagovan, Barbie Wilde, and Paul Kane on my best of 2015. All the interviews that we did were good. It's always very enlightening and informative to be able to chat with our guests for an hour or two, and I hope they enjoy it as much as we do. In 2015, we had some really cool guests, and I wouldn't be able to name favorites. They have all been amazing in their generosity, their friendship, and the artistry of their craft. These are people who are doing what they love, and it definitely shows.
Yeah, and I think we would be doing more of these kind of interviews, except that just the time that it takes to prepare. With Paul Kane, he has got such a big library of books that he's written. And it's not just about Hellraiser, but his fiction that we got to discover. Because we were arranging this podcast with him. So that was really fun too.
That's another, Paul's another guy I really got to, really enjoy talking to. He was kind enough to talk to somebody, I can't remember the company that put out the Monsters hardcover, but he talked to the guy and I actually got a hardcover signed copy from him.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful.
For that. And I really appreciated that for him to, talk to the guy, because there's only like a couple left. And they only made 30 of them, so.
Wow. Yeah,
I don't know.
Wow, only 30. Holy cow. I need to go back and read Monsters. I haven't read that one. I still have only read
Monsters. Monsters was published by the Alchemy Press.
Yes, Alchemy Press. That's who it was.
Yeah. on July 2015. I also have to finish Monsters. Yeah, that's right. It was very interesting to read Red and Blood Red with Paul Kane and discuss the myth of Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. That was very enjoyable. Also got me a little more into the whole folklore myth of Red Riding Hood, and I found out a lot of stuff about it that I never read before, like the fact that it goes back to the 12th century or even further back from that. That's pretty cool to know that there are some archetypal stories that just keep getting repeated, and they're like what do you call it? Stories that are meant to warn you against doing some things. Like the word escapes me, but
tales or
cautionary tales.
Yeah, cautionary tales. Yeah.
Yeah, like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, or Little Red Riding Hood, or other stories like that. Hansel and Gretel. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And also Thomas Nigovan was very cool to have on the show, especially.
I didn't get to do that one. I was, I think I was sick, but I did appreciate him. He did have a shout. He gave a shout out to me on that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're Rob the News guy.
Yeah,
he loved what you did.
He's been on our podcast at least twice. I think maybe, possibly more.
And he's been very generous to the podcast.
Yeah.
And helped us out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was instrumental in helping us out with our previous Kickstarter, but fundraiser.
And Barbie Wild, who we talked to from on the phone from Paris. That was also amazing when she did. We talked about her latest book, Voices of the Damned, which was an awesome compilation of stories. As usual, we kind of ended up keeping her on the phone longer than she could be. But it's always very fun to talk to her, and we are going to. We definitely have that episode. If you haven't heard it, please go and check these out.
She really is got a
Oh gosh, that personality. We've got to do reviews of.
Of Voices of the Damned, written reviews at least.
Yeah, I could do that. I've got my notes and stuff on that.
She asked if we could, if we did a review, if we could also post it on Amazon, and
I need to.
Yes, and I haven't done it yet.
I need to listen to the episode again so I can actually write down what I said on the podcast, because that was my spoken review.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes we spend an hour talking about something, and then it's like, okay. Yeah, we should write it down too.
So I think I'm next now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for trying to.
I just said for sure because I.
I got it on your mind now, so you're going to be using that.
Yeah.
So sorry, Rob, for trying to speak over you.
Okay.
But my number 5 top favorite moment of 2015 was the coming out of the 3rd volume of Memory, Prophecy, and Fantasy from Phil and Sarah Stokes of Revelations, CliveBarker.info. So this is the stuff that you should be collecting. Never mind the payment plans for deluxe editions or calfskin embossed covers, signed and numbered with all the letters of the alphabet and bundled extras. This is the good stuff, okay?
Yeah.
If you've been missing out on these books, well, I'm not going to question your fandom, but I'll let you know you may still be able to catch up. Contact Phil and Sarah Stokes at Clive Barker Info and tell them Jose sent you. Well, tell them the Barkercast sent you.
And this was special for me because Jennifer as a surprise, got it for me for my birthday and asked Phil and Sarah if they could autograph it for me because, they're humble and they don't think that anyone would want their autograph. So they, by default, they don't sign their books.
Right.
But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I still haven't read it yet, but I plan to.
These books go through Clive's life, giving us an insight on his creative life, almost on a year-by-year basis. Mm-hmm. From his early years meeting his friends, like Doug Bradley and Peter Atkins, who would later become artists themselves, to his theater plays, early manuscripts and stories, precursors to the Book of Blood. This is a must-have. As Clive's official archivists, Phil and Sarah have my utmost respect and admiration, and their academic point of view is always welcome and enjoyed. In fact, today we posted a link on Occupy Midian for their essay about Nightbreed. It's called Cabal and the Nightbreed, The Delirium of Monsterdom. So go there and read it, because was this the essay that was in the booklet for the director's cut, Ryan?
Oh, gosh, I can't. I don't know. I have to read this and see.
Yeah,
I know I read what was in the director's cut, but I don't know if this is the same thing.
Cool. Well, they have this essay on their website called Cabal and Nightbreed, The Delirium of Monsterdom. So I totally recommend you guys go check that out on Occupy Midian and on Revelations. So, again, these books are amazing. I have all 3 volumes so far. I think there might still be some copies left of Volume 1 and 2. So if you want to catch up, you probably still can.
This was laid on my list only because I haven't read it yet. I think if I had read it, it would have been up higher.
Oh, yeah.
I've read the first 2, but haven't gotten to this one yet. I'm still just having a 4-year-old. I'm still trying to finish rereading Everville for our podcast. Yeah. We keep pushing that out.
I know that some of these books have a short run, but it's only because they're author's editions, so they're published, self-published by Phil and Sarah. So I think there's like 250 copies of each volume so far. Yeah. So
and there are a lot of Clive Barker fans out there, but it realistically probably not that same amount of people would buy a book that goes this deep into Clive's life and his work.
I'd like to get them. I don't have the first 2, and I know the first 2 are running very low.
Yeah.
On stock.
But yeah, they're great. I loved the first 2. I really like the cover on the third one.
I also just want to say, they're the ones that really post a lot of the news that we, get out to the fans, and if we didn't have them, we'd be like lost babes, I guess.
Yeah.
As far as news goes.
Right. Yeah. Probably 3/4 of our news comes from them. And I think they know about everything that we post. It's just that they mostly stick to the stuff that's directly related to Clive Barker, and we do some of the tangential types of things too.
They did share our Kickstarter, and
yes,
the 100 your episode 100 on their page,
and their side panel that's like a list of Clive Barker interviews. They have our episode 100 text on a link to that also.
Oh, nice. I did not know that.
Yeah, so they've been great, and they're the experts and they're the archivists.
They do great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to go on to another book then that also has unreleased Clive Barker stories, and that's Tonight Again. And I haven't read it yet. I know, Rob, you've read the whole thing.
Yes, that was a very, I think was a very, if you read my review, it's definitely a book that I felt Clive really expresses himself, and is like, people need to lighten up about sexuality and sex.
Yeah, and I read your review this morning, actually, so it was very interesting.
When you read the book, it's going to speak to you differently. I think that's the power of the book. It made me think about my own sexual experiences and growing up, and how I've learned to deal with all these kind of thoughts that I have, that people have. I mean, you're a human being,
sure.
And that's why I like Clive. I mean, that's another part of the reasons why I like his work, is he makes you realize it's okay to have these kind of thoughts and feelings.
I haven't read your review yet because I'm
there's a lot of great artwork in there. He does some drawings. There's some.
Oh yeah, I had a good time going through the book. Yeah, I was sitting on the couch a couple of days ago with my wife Sarah, and I was flipping over and I was like, hey, look at this, and she was like, oh wow, and invariably every other page is like.
Did you show her the picture of the multitude? That was probably my favorite, because
the one with the bugs.
That was disturbing, and just I was like fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Something very erotic but scary about it.
Sure, yeah.
It was really cool how the stories were really short, and some of the shortest stories were some of the best. Like he was comparing one of those. I think it was a poem. He was comparing how the pen is just like the penis, and how it is a creation. Mm-hmm. How the pen creates, and so the penis does too. Creates life.
Do you want to do an episode about that before we do Everville?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, I would be up for that. I mean, I'm going to start reading it tonight, so...
It would be a much smaller book for me to pack on my trip.
Oh, yeah, when you go to Washington. I think so. I mean, I can definitely read that book in a couple of days or 3 or 4 days or something like that. So, yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll make that either our next one, or our next one might be news, or it might be our next, with our other sponsor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so tonight, again, is a small little book, but it's so pretty. And I really enjoy the fact that it's got all these illustrations inside. And the graphic work inside the book is so pretty. I mean, it's really nice, like the pages, the fonts, the way that they have these little like color things on the pages, and these color separators and spacers and stuff. It looks really nice. There's a bunch of books by Clive Barker that all have the same kind of format, which is like First Tales, Chiliad, A Meditation, and now Tonight Again. They're all kind of the same size, the same format, little tiny, kind of thin-looking hardcover books.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. You know, it looks really stylish to have that on your shelf and look at it and pick it up and read it. It's pretty. I really love the book. Like you, Ryan, I haven't read the book yet, so we can definitely do that for a future episode of the podcast because
it's a very fast read.
Yeah, it's a very fast
pretty
read.
Fast, and it's just there's a lot of good subtext to it. Sometimes I had to read some of the stories again to pick up on what he was really trying to say, but I highly recommend the book. I enjoyed it a lot more than Scarlet Gospels.
Oh, wow.
I had Scarlet Gospels in this switch between, but I had to move Scarlet Gospels down because it kept getting better. So
I particularly like the fact that in your review you said something like, well, if you picked up Scarlet Gospels and you weren't entirely happy with it, pick up this book because I think this book will really please you. And so sounds like a good suggestion there. It's a book where Clive Barker is being very genuine,
yeah,
about what he likes, the kind of stories he likes to do. You could kind of see these stories coming in the recent stories that have been making their way into several anthologies from Clive Barker, where he contributes one story here, another story there. And nowadays, I think his short stories are very, very short. But at the same time,
there's power in that.
There's a lot of power, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in the short stories. Because even I remember saying that these are really short. I mean, how much but it doesn't really matter how long a story is, as long, there's a strong message to it.
Yeah, it's how it makes you feel that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not how long it takes you to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Rob, I think you're up next.
My next book on mine I did was Paul Kane's Monsters.
Okay.
I did. I really love this book because it took me back to my childhood when I was a kid reading like old EC comics and Tales from the Crypt books and enjoying monster movies like King Kong.
Yeah.
The old Universal. It just made me think about, as I was reading it, I felt like a 10-year-old again, and just a lot of the stories in there were very, very. It was a nostalgia kind of experience reading this book.
And the Chaos Demon story.
Yeah, I love that was a good one. My favorite.
Chaos Demons are for life.
Yeah. And my favorite one would probably be, gosh, what was it called? I can't remember it offhand. Dig, and then in parentheses it said this.
Is that the one about zombies?
Yeah, that was the one
Dig
about
this?
Zombies. Yeah, Dig This. Yeah. It was really good. And it definitely reminded me of those old kind of like, well, for one, it reminded me of being a kid going to places where I shouldn't have gone to, and just hanging out with friends, talking about horror movies, because that's in those characters in that story. Spoilers if you've not read the book. They're just not really spoilers, but they're just talking about Hellraiser and things like that, and they're in a graveyard, and like
it's cool.
It's just just really just made me, I don't know, made me feel like I said, a kid again. And hopefully, if you read the book, it'll make you feel kind of the same way.
And of course, it has a Clive Barker cover on it.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, did he do that originally for the book, or was that a previous?
No, that was on a Rue Morgue issue. Also.
Oh, okay. I thought I'd seen it somewhere, but I wasn't sure.
But it's a great picture.
And just in case people are wondering, we did a conversation with Paul Kane on episode 108. So if you want to listen to the podcast, you can look for that episode. Yes. 108. Yeah.
But that was third on my list of. So if y'all, I'll highly recommend reading it if you get the chance or extra time.
Oh yeah, I read a few stories of it already. So yeah, I can concur with that one. Absolutely.
I plan to do that too.
If I can be the next one, one of my top 10 was the Leviathan Documentary.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It was 11 hours of amazing behind-the-scenes stuff, interviews with the people who worked in this amazing duo of movies, Hellraiser and Hellbound, and a very carefully crafted documentary from Cult Screenings UK Limited and Dead Mouse Productions Limited. So we had Gary Smart join us for several episodes of the podcast from the very first time we talked to him. I think they were still doing pre-production for that. So we kind of followed it all throughout the process, including the Kickstarter and all that. It's such a collectible for anyone who's a Hellraiser fan that I cannot recommend it enough. It gives everyone who had a role in that production a voice, and it transports us into Cricklewood and Pinewood for those 11 hours of content. You can almost smell the latex and the glue and the fake blood and the cigarettes smoked on stage. So thanks, Gary Smart, and every other person who worked on this, especially Nicholas F. Helmsley, who also wrote it with Gary Smart, Kevin McDonough, who directed the documentary, and everybody else. Everybody else who was in it.
Lito Velasco, composer.
Lito Velasco, who did A Beautiful Darkness, the soundtrack to Leviathan. That was also pretty cool. You did he had a Kickstarter for that as well, or Indiegogo.
Right, to buy the soundtrack.
I contributed and got a copy of that.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah. So it was great to see people like Andrew Robertson, Oliver Smith, director of photography Robin Vidgen, of course all the Cenobite actors, Nicholas Vince, Simon Manford, Barbie Wilde, and
Bob Keane too.
Bob Keane, Jeffrey Portis, Oliver Parker, Tony Randell. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. They got people in this documentary. I didn't even remember their names. I didn't
even know them, most of them. So that was even more special for me.
And people who have never gone on the record to really talk about Hellraiser, like Imogen Borman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It reminded me a lot of those two documentaries. Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy, and what was the other one? Camp Crystal Lake Memories about
that was
Friday the 13th.
But this was bigger.
This was bigger. Yeah,
especially 11 hours when it's just basically about two movies.
I think their latest project is about Fright Night documentary.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and they keep having Simon Bamford posing as the characters, right, from Fright Night as a character.
And Nicholas Vince as well.
Yeah, Nicholas Vince, yeah.
It's great to see them use those actors for this. It's amazing. They really seem to have a lot of fun doing this, and they know what they're doing. So they're a very talented crew of people working on this. So Leviathan, I hope you got a copy of the original limited edition documentary. If not, it's fine. You can still get it, I think, from their website. So I think it's Leviathan. What was the name? What was the
.co.uk or something like that, or the Leviathan-movie or something like that.
I will let you know.
Yeah, we can put it in the show notes.
Okay, so Leviathan Hellraiser. This was definitely one of the highlights of 2015 for me. So, I just had to put it in here.
Mm-hmm. This is my number 4.
It's leviathan-hellraiser.co.uk. So go there, and if you need to get a copy, I'm sure they'll still have some.
There you go. Okay.
No, hopefully those guys will get together and do. They will. I know in that interview we did with Gary Smart, he said he would like to do 3 Hellraiser 3 and 4. So that'd be, I think, a great.
That would finish it up, really. I mean,
yeah.
We don't really count the ones after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did one of the featurettes in this packed box set was a featurette about Hellraiser 3, so they already started something there. But it was great. They got Ken Carpenter to talk, who was camera head, and a bunch of people. So hopefully at some point they'll be able to get back to the Hellraiser universe and do another documentary. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, well, this is actually, I guess, since I messed up one of them, this is my very last one. Is April Fools.
I remember that one.
We had 2 April Fools jokes that both of them fooled everybody, which I didn't expect. Not everybody, but fooled a lot of people. One of them was because of your move to
Arizona.
We said that we were bidding farewell to Jose because you were moving to a place that only had dial-up internet. And we couldn't do the podcast anymore. And everybody was like, "Oh man, that's too bad. We're sorry to see you go, Jose. You were a big part of the podcast, and you were, part of what makes it great." And
it was funny, yeah.
Yeah,
and
I thought people would be like, "Oh yeah, April Fools," but that really didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was really just a lot of like, "Oh no, that's too bad,"
I found that out, I think, when I was actually on the road, and I was like, "Hey, what's Ryan posting here? Like, Jose's leaving the podcast?" And I was like, "Oh wait, it's April Fools, yeah, right."
Yeah,
you kind of got me with that one, so yeah.
Yeah,
the other one.
I took a Facebook picture of you guys driving down the road to Arizona.
Yeah.
And then the big one was Rob's idea that Scarlet Gospels would be delayed for another year.
Oh boy,
that didn't make. I tried to post that on Occupy Midian, and somebody put "fuck you" as the first page. So I was like, I just took it off. I was like, I'll just put it on our page.
That got us into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a cruel joke because it's just plausible enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Scarlet Gospels was delayed for 20 years. I mean, not necessarily delayed. It's just that Clive Barker kept on working on other projects.
Yeah, that's right.
And it actually got to the publishing company because Mark Miller.
He said, "Hey, I don't know where this rumor started, but can you guys let people know that this isn't true?" And I'm actually like, "Hey, actually, we started that, and it's an April Fool's joke." And I saw his email was, he had all the attachments from all the publishers that were freaking out.
I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, the people at St. Martin's Press that were freaking out over that rumor.
What is this?
They're like, who said that? Well, this isn't true.
I know, but it was April Fool's. I mean, come on, it's April 1st.
I'm sure they figured that out. Hopefully they were like, okay.
Yeah.
Because they didn't say anything else about it after they probably realized it.
It was funny, though, how high up that got.
But that's like become a tradition all over the internet on April Fool's. People put stuff up. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
You see stuff all the time.
Yeah,
because you just think of it as another day.
And you start to see people posting like, "Oh, you can't trust anything that you see on the internet on April 1st." And I thought that's what people would do with ours, but
I know
for some reason they took them seriously.
Maybe that means they're paying attention to us, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't do it like we didn't wink or anything or put jokes in there.
Right, because that would defeat the purpose of the whole thing.
Is that
the purpose
still
of April Fool's is to trick people.
I have to go back and look at that because I'd like to look and see it again.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that people fell for that. Especially Mark Miller. But, that was funny.
Yeah. Well, and the one about you moving, for me would be totally plausible because here in Fairbanks, you just go outside of our city limits just a little bit and, you get people that can only get dial-up internet or satellite or...
Oh, shucks, yeah. I remember for some time one of our friends, David, he lives in Minnesota, according to his own words, in the sticks. And so at one point I remember him saying he had nothing but dial-up internet, but this was like years ago, so I'm sure now it's...
Yeah, I mean, he said that for quite a while, why he didn't want to join our podcast, or why he couldn't, I guess you could say.
I left dial-up internet back in the 90s and never looked back.
Yeah.
My first high-speed internet was in Spokane in like 1999.
Wow.
I got it here.
Well, except for in college. Living in
Asheville.
college, we had, we would just plug right into an Ethernet port in the wall, and it was like a direct.
So, yeah, we're going to come up with something interesting for next April Fools, and let's see how that goes.
Yeah, and if we'll have probably like 3 real stories and one that's not, and we'll see what happens.
All right, so who's next?
So that was mine. So I keep forgetting where I'm 5 and 6, right? So
yeah, you're 5 and 6.
Rob is next.
Okay,
my next one is the Scarlet Box Hellraiser Blu-ray set.
Ooh.
I thought Arrow did a amazing job with this box set. It was an limited edition set. I know it's out of print now, but I'd actually go on record saying if you could find it, I'd pick it up because they've got this nice book in there that I've read about 100 pages. It's about Phil and Sarah Stokes. And it's really, there's pictures in there I've never seen. There's set pictures of them on the, with Clive directing Peter Atkins when they were doing The Forbidden.
Did you read the whole book now?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because I had to stop and read, I stopped and read Tonight Again.
Oh, yeah.
I need to get a review up there. But other than that...
I think between the 3 of us, you're the only one who has a copy of the Scarlet Box.
Yeah.
And and it's just I don't have a machine that can play it.
I actually had to buy a region-free player to
and that's the complaint that people, that Nightbreed people had. But my defense to that is with Nightbreed, you're not going to get, as far as we know, you're not going to get any other way to see the extended edition. But there's lots of ways to watch Hellraiser.
Yeah.
But this set has a ton of stuff in it.
Yeah.
The surgeon scene that...
it's the quality of it and the extras that make it so great, right?
Yeah.
2K restoration.
Yeah.
The picture quality on, I think the first one is the best I've seen it ever look. Mm-hmm. I mean, I even thought the Anchor Bay one, that when they first released, that was a good, pretty good quality. But the detail of seeing Frank when he first, kills the one guy and, he's got more flesh on his body. You can see just so much detail in the slime dripping off his body.
Oh gosh!
Plus, his resurrection is a lot cooler too. And in Hellbound, what's really cool is seeing Julia when she is resurrected. It's so much more colorful, and the suit in that one. You talk about seeing a lot of more detail in that. Mm-hmm. That was, the effects team did an amazing job on that. I've never seen that look so, it's just the colors are striking and the details pop.
Yeah, the second movie has a lot more color than the first one in certain scenes, like when Julia's walking with Shenard down the hallways of hell, and you see all these little colored windows or lights or something in the walls, and it almost reminds me a little bit of, in the sense of all these different colors on the frame. It reminds me a little bit of the colors in Suspiria or something like that. It's very well lit, and definitely the colors are amazing in Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. So, yeah.
Probably my 2 favorite features on it were being able to hear Sean Chapman talk about the Hellraiser films he worked on. He talked about how, he built a backstory for Frank to help him get in character. And he said how he didn't like them over, dubbing his voiceover. something interesting. He mentioned that it lost some of the tenderness of the character. So to me, that tells me that Frank, when he talked, didn't come off like a complete, kind of this. In the movie, the voice sounds like he's a jerk.
Oh yeah.
So so I mean, in his actual voice might not come off like that, because when he talks on the documentaries, he's very kind of
soft spoken.
Yeah, that's nice soft spoken.
And there's another cool feature where you get to that he did a little bit on the Leviathan, but they didn't do this on there, which was cool. They took the Coil. They took the Coil
soundtrack.
One of the Coil members, and they took some of the score from what they were doing, or samples of, or tests of what they were doing at the time, and put it over certain scenes. And it actually kind of was cool how they played it. They put some of the music from when Frank was opening the box, and they did the opening credits over it. So I should somehow record those and put that up on so people could see it.
Yeah, they got Coil member Stephen Thrower to
that's who it was.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, it's jam packed with a lot of stuff. It's 4 DVDs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Blu-rays, right?
Yeah. And you do get a documentary with most of the people from the direct-to-video series talking about. They don't talk about the films they made. They just talk about their love for Clive Barker and the original film.
Do they also have the 2-hour version of Leviathan in there?
Yeah, but it's separated into 2 parts. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they do. It's on there.
Okay.
I didn't get to watch
the Hellraiser one, and the other one's
on the one's on the. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then they put the 30-minute documentary of Hell on Earth on Hellraiser.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was in the extras on Leviathan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will get to that review of Sarah and Phil's book soon.
Cool. Yeah, that's the one thing. It's like, I would love to have had that book, but you just can't. There's just no way to get it separately.
You said you didn't have a machine that can play Blu-rays. I don't have a machine that can print money. Otherwise, I would have this as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. That's another big one. It was like, once you shipped it over, it was like $80 or $100, right?
Now it's on eBay for like $129, between $100 and $130. So
the final total, I think, was $83.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can do PAL Blu-rays, but I can't do region locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be more interested in the book, really.
Yeah.
The book
maybe
if
y'all want to look at it, I could maybe send it to y'all. I mean, I trust y'all. I mean, I could send y'all let y'all look at it.
Oh, cool. Or just take a couple of pictures of it and put it on your review as well.
Yeah. But if y'all wanted to look at it, I could send it to y'all. Or
all right, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, well, my number 8 was the Midnight Meat Train book.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very thorough book. I love the extra material. I'm particularly fond of the price when it came out. And so it's a book that really delivers a great package, especially if you're a fan of Riwei Kitamura's movie as well, because it comes with the script of the movie.
And stills and stuff, too.
And stills and stuff, production stuff. And it's got
storyboards.
And this is probably the book that we were the most skeptical about when it was announced. Because it was kind of like, okay, why are they doing a special edition of one story out of the Books of Blood?
Yeah. They're doing something similar now with the Body book, which is the Body Politic. And
because of Midnight Meat Train being so great, that was why I ordered the Body book when I probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
I can see that. So it was great. I mean, I was just not very happy with the cover of the book. I thought the cover was a little weird in the sense that the graphic work in the cover was a little strange. It was not that it's black. That's fine with me because there are several covers that are black, like Cabal's first edition. But it was more like the way that the text went all the way to the edge of the cover.
Oh, yeah.
And it seemed like something wasn't, it wasn't very balanced in terms of the graphic work there. But I remember seeing like one of our friends, Steve Dillon. He also made some reviews for Clive Barker books, and he reviewed the Midnight Meat Train. And I think he also noticed that because he mentioned that the text goes all the way to the edge of the cover, and it's almost like the text is about to fall off the edge. But it was great. I love what's on the inside of the Midnight Meat Train book. Like I said, it's from Dark Regions Press. I think it's already sold out at this point.
Yeah.
I think you can get Amazon has copies, not signed, but just regular paperback.
Yeah, my copy wasn't signed, so my copy is just a normal hardcover. But still, I'm very happy that I have this on my collection. And yeah, so Dark Regions Press, Midnight Meat Train was a great release in 2015.
I was watching the trailer for that movie, and I paused it at a certain point. I think they might have shot some of the original ending because you can see some of the city dwellers behind what's that act? The Cooper? That's his name?
Bradley Cooper?
Bradley Cooper. Behind him, and he's like holding his hand out, worshiping this like deity. So they might have gone and shot some of it, but then maybe I know there was a lot of compromise, and they said, "Look, we don't understand this stuff. You need to figure something else out."
Well, they wanted him to even take out all of the city people. I mean, all of the
City Fathers.
City Fathers. There we go. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, wow, City Fathers. What I meant to say.
Yeah,
that would defeat the purpose of the story.
Yeah, they wanted to make it just a slasher with some guy killing people.
Mahogany.
With Mahogany killing people in the subway. Luckily, they stood up to the studios and they won because there's a history of people asking Clive to make his movie into a slasher movie.
Yeah. I thought the biggest problem this movie had was actually in the distribution side.
Definitely. That was absolutely the worst part. I mean, they had finally gotten the movie the way they wanted it,
and they just dropped it on dollar theaters.
Just
like 200 screens.
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near me. I wasn't able to go see it. I've never seen the theatrical version. I've only seen the Blu-ray.
I've seen the theatrical version on TV.
Oh, really? Did they put that on TV?
Yeah, it was on Showtime.
There's almost, from what I read, there's almost nothing different. Yeah, it's just a little bit less.
I think some of the sex is cut down a little bit. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
I hate seeing movies on cable because they're always like the TV version of movies, and it's always like censored, or if someone says some profanity, they dub it over, or they cut.
Something really stupid too.
Yeah.
Well, and if it's on a channel like USA or something, then they have commercials every 3 minutes.
I was
watching Casino one night, and it's like they had Robert De Niro is like when he was talking to Sharon Stone, and he says the F word, and they say freak.
Well,
that's just
like I said, the worst offender is Snakes on a Plane on the TV version. Samuel L. Jackson says, "I've had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane."
Friday.
I've never heard that.
It's on YouTube. If you go there and
look at that.
Monday
Snakes
to Friday.
These monkey fighting snakes.
Fighting again.
Yeah. So you can find that version on YouTube, like the clip where he says that.
Okay.
It's just hilarious.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Scarface has a lot of good ones too. Like the one guy's like, how'd you get that scar, tough guy? And he's like, oh, eating pussy. And he's like, how do you get that scar eating pussy? And in the TV version, he's like, how'd you get that scar, tough guy eating pineapple?
Oh. Hey, if you don't peel it first, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
They do some really loopy stuff for TV anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't have any more. So, Jose, you could go on to your... Or no, you did Midnight Meat Train, right? So is it Rob's turn?
Okay, my next one is the Leviathan soundtrack by The Beautiful Darkness by Lito Velasco.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a very good score. I liked how he captured the themes from both Hellraiser and Hellbound and brought his own... touch to
he kind of picked up
his own thing to the pieces of music. I wish I had the soundtrack on me right on hand because there was
certain tracks that I really enjoyed, and there was also some alternate music that wasn't used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that it just seeing it on the documentary, it does it a little bit of an injustice because
it does.
They looped
that's all they did was
small
loop
sections of the soundtrack and played those over and over again.
Yeah,
so hearing the actual soundtrack is much different experience than when you see it on the movie.
Very much so, and have y'all heard it in its complete?
I think I haven't yet. I think
I've heard a couple of entire songs, but not the whole soundtrack yet.
Okay, I think when he did the Indiegogo, he sent us a copy, but I haven't gotten a copy of it yet. So, I think Ryan, you have a digital copy, so I'll have to listen to that.
You had me send it to you, right?
Yeah, did you send it to me?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to figure out if I downloaded it or not, because I went through a couple of months where I had these awful problems with my computer, where I had to replace the hard drive in my computer, my laptop. Yeah. So I think I lost a few things that I might have downloaded around that time. So I probably have to get another copy of that to listen. I don't think – did we ever do a review of this on the blog? Did you do a review, Rob?
I was supposed to, but that's when all the Kickstarter stuff got cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we're still in time for that, I guess.
It's set up. I created a draft, and I had notes on it, but I just need to write I want to do it. I want it to be good. I didn't want to just throw something up.
So apologies to Lido Valesco.
Yeah, we apologize for that, Lido.
And also to Barbie Wild, because we didn't do any written reviews of...
Yes.
Oh, we will. Now that the holiday season is behind us, we got a fresh new drive and a resolve to... finish all these loose strings that we have from 2015.
Yeah. Yeah, plus like 20 more audio commentaries.
Yeah. Well,
I'm really proud of those commentaries, though. I mean, we were really having fun with those, and I think Candyman 3 I listened to it all the way through. And,
oh, really?
And it was really good and funny. I think it's really one of the funniest ones we've done.
Did you hear that little audio blip that we... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I heard it a few times.
Yeah. Barkercast plug, people. Go listen to Candyman 3 commentary track.
Yeah.
I have a last item on my list, on my top 10, which was, for me, it was number 9. It was History of the Devil on the Phoenix Theater in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Very pleasant experience. This was...
soon after you moved, right? That was like your introduction to Arizona was you could go see that.
I was like, awesome. I'm going to be able to see a Clive Barker play being, played in the theater. So I went to see it. It was the director was Damon Daring, and the company was called Nearly Naked Theater, I think, which was interesting because they do these plays where they have a lot of like naked actors. So for this one, it actually really worked very well because there's all these like angels and demon figurines and it just felt right to see some of them like naked on stage because it gave it more of a classical look. And I really had a lot of a fun time. I was sitting next to the mom of one of the guys who was on stage. I think it was the mother of the actor who played Kiepenhauer, the lawyer.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she was very, very proud of her son. And she's like, oh, you were from a podcast. Oh, what are you going to write it for a newspaper or something? I was like, well, no, we're on the internet. We have a blog. And, it was... But she was very, very excited. And the play was very nice. And it was amazing. I mean, it was a small stage, but they made it work. They had some interesting choices of stage dressing. They had these almost diaphanous pieces of cloth making kind of like a dome over it. And then, it was very, very wonderfully done. The actor who played Lucifer was amazing. I can try to find real quick some of the pictures of it or some of the names of the actors. But it was very entertaining. I did a review of it, I think.
Yeah, and that should still be there.
So I got the names of the actors, so I'm going to say them.
We'll go back.
So So the actor who played Lucifer, I think, was David Nelson, and there was a The narrator was an actor named Andy Cahoon. So, I know I did a review of it in 2015, so just go look for History of the Devil on our blog, and you will find that. It was pretty fun. So that was another one of the highlights of my year. That was the first time I've ever seen Clive Barker play on stage in real life. Before that, I had seen the History of the Devil production done by the Seeing Ear Theater, which was an audio production. So it was amazing. I mean, have you guys ever seen a Clive Barker play?
I would love to.
No.
Just
read them.
I've
never seen one done. And
it was very long.
And I've listened to the Seeing Ear.
Yeah, it was almost 3 hours long. So it was divided in two different parts, so people could have an intermission.
With that play, I would imagine it would go pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It pace to it.
It had an excellent pace to it, and the first part I think was like an hour 45 minutes, and then the rest of it was whatever made the rest of the 3 hours. So. Fabulous experience at the Phoenix Theater with the Nearly Naked Theater, and excellent production by Damon Daring. So one of the highlights of my year for sure.
Awesome.
We need to we need to finish that one book because there's only one more play in the
Incarnations, or
I think so. That's the one. It's called, I can't remember the name of it.
Forms of Heaven. Frankenstein in Love, Colossus.
Yeah, Colossus is the one.
Colossus, right? Yeah. That's the one that takes place in a boat or something, right? On a cruise ship, I think. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've read that play.
Yeah,
so
I read those in '95 when those books came out, and I guess
same here.
Kind of mixed up.
Yeah. So just to recap quickly, so my top 10 was.
Well, Rob, did you finish all of yours?
I got one more on mine, just real quick. But go ahead, Jose, if you want to recap yours real fast.
Oh, okay. Well, my top 1 was Clive Barker episode 100. Number 2 was the Scarlet Gospels release. Number 3 is Tonight Again. Number 4, it was the interview episodes with Peter Atkins, Thomas Nagova, Barbie Wilde, and Paul Kane. Number 5, Memory, Prophecy, and Fantasy Volume 3 by Phil and Sarah Stokes from clivebarker.info. Number 6, Kickstarter, Fundraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Was really a lot of fun. Number 7, Leviathan Documentary. Number 8, Midnight Meat Train book release. Number 9, History of the Devil at the Phoenix Theater. And number 10 was the release of the Hellraiser Scarlet Box by Arrow.
Mine were number 1, the Scarlet Gospels. Number 2, our Kickstarter. Number 3, unfortunately I put First Tales, which we found out is 2013 release, so I must have gotten hit in the head when I wrote that. Number 4, episode 100 is our Clive Barker interview episode. Number 5 was Leviathan Documentary. Number 6 was our interview with Paul Kane. And number 7 was our interview with Pete Atkins. Number 8 was our April Fools. Number 9 is Tonight Again, and it's so low only because I haven't read it yet. Number 10, Memory, Prophecy, and Fantasy Volume 3, again, only because I haven't read it. It would be probably higher up in the list.
Oh, man. I see. I took a sneak peek, and I know what Rob is going to say as his number 10. And I'm sorry I didn't think of it.
No. My top 10 we're going by, I'll recap mine, was episode 100, Clive Barker Answers Questions, Peter Atkins Interview, Monsters by Paul Kane, the Leviathan Documentary, Tonight Again, Scarlet Gospels, Hell on Earth Kickstarter, the Scarlet Box, Hellraiser Blu-ray box set, the Leviathan soundtrack, The Beautiful Darkness, and finally, my number 10 would be the Nightbreed Director's Cut winning the Saturn Award.
Yay!
Yeah. So that was my final. I thought that was a big achievement for everybody that put in, from Occupy Midian, Michael Plumlees, Russell Cheriton, you guys, Ryan and Jose, Mark Miller.
And Clive Barker.
Clive Barker, of course.
Andrew Furtado for
editing it. It was a very good job, and it was well-deserved. So congratulations on that. Y'all deserved it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also Scream Factory. I love
Scream Factory.
I love that box set. I think it's awesome.
It's crazy cool. I mean, it's amazing. It was costly, but it was worth every cent of it. Mm-hmm. And we got ours signed by a bunch of people, and it's really such a nice thing. I mean, I think I did a collector's corner once about it, so I posted some pictures of them. It's really cool. So congratulations on winning that Saturn Award. It was well deserved.
That was a real big deal. So
big highlight.
Nightbreed really was, what do you say, vindicated?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Clive Barker was in tears,
So that's
And again, this was one of the things that we knew a little bit ahead of everybody else, because a little birdie told me that, hey, we're going to be winning the Saturn Award with Nightbreed Director's Cut. So. Yeah. And then we were waiting for it, and I was like, "Wow!" It was really cool. So when it came out, Occupy Midian was happy, ecstatic about it, and everybody was really, really excited about this.
Well, and also we had heard about the announcement, the announcement coming at Comic-Con that they were going to make this movie, or that Scream Factory was going to put out the director's cut.
At the San Diego Comic-Con of 2013, I think, when they announced that Mark Millar was going to be part of the Shout Factory's panel.
Yeah, and we also heard that they had found the film elements months before they ever announced that. Yeah,
but these things you have to keep it a secret, and you can't spoil this stuff because.
Yeah. Well, and that was hard because you'd see people arguing about the director's cut is going to be stupid because I saw it at such and such theater at the Cabal cut and all of that footage looks terrible and you really want to say first of all that Cabal cut is awesome, and second it's all new film elements, but we couldn't.
Right.
We just had to say you just argue, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that one of the highlights of 2016 for me as a fan of Nightbreed might be the release of Philip O'Neill's fan edit of Nightbreed, because I'm looking forward to that. We covered that in a couple of articles. So
I'd also like to see them not give up on the international release of the director's cut.
Yes, and since this is a 2015 year in review, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate. I'm not just going to talk about good stuff. I'm also going to say, conversely, 10 things I didn't like about 2015. So in no particular order, the continuous trend to make short-run and super deluxe editions of Clive's books that cost sometimes hundreds of dollars, keeping these away from fans. Even the non-limited versions of some of these books are just 1,000 copies of a book. And that's not nearly enough for someone of Clive's stature, for the fans who exist all around the world to be able to get a copy of these books. So that's one of the things I would like to see changed, longer print runs of some of these books, possibly even paperbacks. I wouldn't mind, if it means that more people will get exposure to Clive Barker's stuff. I mean, I got exposed to Clive Barker's work by reading paperbacks of Clive Barker's stuff. If I had to buy a $50 hardcover, I probably would never have gotten the Books of Blood or Cabal or whatever. I mean,
that's true. But now, even we're grateful when something is $50 to $70 instead of $300 and something or $250 or $280.
Yeah. Another thing I didn't like about 2015 is Clive's health still not being, like you mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Clive's health seems to still be in a state where he can't do personal appearances. Yeah. And it seems like his health is, at this point, kind of stabilized in this point where Clive really can't do much in terms of personal appearances or, interviews or anything. So I know he's 63 and, really hope that we still have Clive with us for a long time to come. And but I would love, that's just life. You can't really control these things.
Didn't he host some kind of Halloween thing though?
Miss Kitty Halloween Ball. He does that for a few years.
Yeah. I would like to see him take a little bit of time off and just rest. And I know that's probably not a super popular thing to say to Clive Barker fans, but honestly, I mean, you know, if it's going to make him healthier and better, and you know, take some.
Yeah.
You don't have to write for 12 hours a day or whatever.
Oh.
Well, I think he's driven to at least finish Abarat series because from what he was saying in interviews and stuff, Abarat is like his kind of. He sees it as kind of his legacy, like as his legacy work.
He's never made 2 sequels to anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for Everville.
No.
Funny,
right.
I started reading Abarat. I'm about 80 pages into it.
Oh, the first one?
Yeah, the first book.
Cool.
I just started it because I just, wanted to read something.
Yeah.
I want to get back into an epic kind of thing, and I really like it so far. And, so he's got 2 more books. I'll finish these 3, and he's got 2 more books after that. So
it's a little bit like Magica for kids.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting that vibe.
Yeah.
Another thing I didn't like was some of the controversies that surrounded the Scarlet Gospels, especially by people, saying that, I don't think this was written by Clive Barker or someone else wrote parts of it. And it's like, we don't really have any information that would confirm or deny anything like that ever happened. Yeah. And then, I mean, we all, especially like hardcore fans, we think that we can recognize what was written by Clive or not, but we really can't because we are basing our experience on what Clive's style is from books that he wrote 30 years ago and 20 years ago. And it's like his style has changed. One of the things that Thomas Nagovin told us was that, Clive Barker has changed some of his writing style. And he started prioritizing other elements in his storytelling, and he was actually doing a style shift. So who's to say that this isn't just Clive changing his style? I mean, honestly, some of the controversy was just ridiculous about
also
Scarlet
the
Gospels.
editing is different.
I particularly remember, and I'm not trying to start any problems, but I was very disappointed at some of the reviews from the Ginger Nuts of Horror, because they trashed the Scarlet Gospel pretty badly on that website. Not just one reviewer, but more than one. And I was extremely angry at them for some of the things that they said about this book. And, you guys know who I am. You guys know me on Facebook. Jim McLeod, Ginger Nuts of Horror, you got something to say to me, just come at me, bro. I was really disappointed about some of the things that they came up with on those reviews about the Scarlet Gospels. Yeah. So, I mean, I know that the Scarlet Gospels is not a perfect book. There's, like you said, there's parts that are a little choppy and stuff. But I would never, ever start a review by saying, write a review saying that, this was ghost written, or there's parts of this that seems like it wasn't written by Clive Barker. I would never say that because we were there. We saw the 5 or 6 volumes of manuscript for the Scarlet Gospels that was written by Clive Barker. It's insane to think that having such a huge amount of binders with Scarlet Gospel stuff that you would have to resort to having someone else write it for him.
Well, and the editing process on this book was almost a curation.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think it's one thing to have opinions about the book itself, but it's something else to speculate about crap like somebody ghostwriting it.
Another thing, I was very disappointed in 2015, but these are things that sometimes happen, and we can't really expound a lot on this, but the Clive Barker Society died off before it could begin. So I was very sorry to see that happen.
So for some people, this is going to be news, because they might still be waiting, for stuff to come in the mail.
Right.
And the Clive Barker Society may be changing ownership.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know exactly, but it obviously people weren't getting their monthly mail outs or whatever.
Right. There is a certain transition that's happening right now, and we really can't expound on this too much. But I was sorry to see this happen. So
I was too.
That's another thing.
It was a really exciting thing that kind of pumps up the fans and sort of reinvigorates, people's love for Clive Barker stuff, along with all these little books that are coming out, and that was and that just feels like it was just kind of tossed aside.
Yeah. I have to say, I mean, right now there is no news. Well, apart from the official Clive Barker newsletter and from the clivebarker.info, Phil and Sarah Stokes Revelations website, there really isn't a fan-made, fan-driven news outlet for Clive Barker stuff. Well, like there used to be Lost Souls. Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to get into. Like, I got into Lost Souls, the fan club. I got the newsletter. I used to read it from like cover to cover, and I was like, every time I got it in the mail, I was like, "Oh, cool! Another Lost Souls newsletter with an interview by Clive."
I always got the Dread ones.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's a little too far back for me because I was living in Portugal, so I couldn't have access to that easily. But I subscribed to the Lost Souls newsletter back when it was Steven Dressler and Cheryl Benson, I think.
Yeah.
And that stuff really does a lot to keep the fans interested and motivated and in touch with what Clive is doing. Now, I would say, apart from Clive Barker's Revelations and from the official Clive Barker newsletter, we're the only fan-driven, news outlet about Clive Barker. So in that sense, we have now become kind of like that, that's the niche that we're occupying right now, which I'm comfortable with. I don't know if everybody thinks that this is accurate, but I hope they do. I hope they enjoy our podcast. But the Clive Barker Society would have been something really interesting for the fans to be able to get stuff from Clive, to get content and items, collectibles that would come straight from Clive Barker himself. Unfortunately, some things happen, and I'm sure there will be some sort of like news communication being done at some point. I don't know. So that was one of the things I was sorry to see, peter out in 2015 was the Clive Barker Society. Another thing was some of these projects that Clive Barker has been announced as being involved with, like Creepypasta or The Entwined. It doesn't seem like, sometimes this might seem like I'm putting Clive Barker on a pedestal, but sometimes some of these projects don't seem like they're at his level. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, it seems like these are projects that existed in some form before Clive Barker got involved, and then Clive Barker got involved in kind of like name only or as a producer or something in an effort to raise awareness for these projects, which is very generous of Clive to do.
Yeah, Zombies versus Gladiators.
Zombies versus Gladiators. I mean, what was that? I mean, I don't even know how that got announced, really.
And it had false news in it that he was, that he was going to direct, and it's like, Clive Barker takes the director's seat again. Mm. And it turned out that it was just a writing project, and now I don't even know if that was true.
Another thing, just to go quickly over the things I didn't like, no Aberrat 4 or 5 yet. I know we have to keep it chill. Don't be pushing Clive Barker too much because, like you said, he needs to get some rest. Yeah. But still, I cannot rest and I cannot read all the Aberrat books until I actually have all 5 books in my hand because you read the first one, then the second came out, and you had to read the first one again and then the second because it's been a few years and you don't remember it. Yeah. Then a lot more time goes by, like 8 years between the first and the third or something. And it's like, I can't read all the books from the beginning every time a new book comes out. So that's why I put the third book on the shelf and I said, I'm going to wait until 4 and 5 come out, and then I'll read the whole thing from beginning to end.
Well, that's what I did. I read them all every time one came out, but now I have a kid, and I didn't back when all that happened. So I don't know that I would have time.
Still, no international edition of Director's Cut of Nightbreed. Yeah. It's really something that really
that's a bummer.
Ticks me off.
Yeah, well, and it's just. I think it just. I wonder if they just have given up on it because it was too difficult to negotiate, or
I don't know. Like Michael Plummedes was saying in Occupy Midian on Facebook, Revolution Studios has the international rights for Nightbreed, so write to Revolution. let them know that you're interested in seeing the director's cut of Nightbreed be released in your country. And, there's nothing else we can do at this point.
Yeah.
But Scarlet Box region locked with Phil and Sarah book. I was sorry that it was region locked. I understand why it was region locked. I understand the intricacies of having an English company put their own time and money into doing something like this, and that they're kind of bound to their region code. I understand that. It's more of a peeve about the whole Blu-ray market in general, just like it used to be with the DVD market in general. I think that region locking is wrong. I don't like it. I wish that someone living in China could be able to buy a Blu-ray from US, and as long as you pay the import fees or whatever, you should be able to buy it and watch it in your house. I don't like the idea of region locking. So that's, unfortunately, that's one of the reasons that's kept me from buying this set.
Well, there are as many Hellraiser fans in the United States as there are in UK. Maybe probably more, slightly more. But
I don't want to reflect any of my negativity about this upon Phil and Sarah's book, because I'm sure it's great, and I love Phil and Sarah, and I'm sure they made a great book. It's just that I wish I could read the book on a standalone version, Yeah. But hey, it's a great exclusive. It adds a lot of value to the Scarlet Box for sure. I understand that. So I'm not letting any of this negativity fall onto Phil and Sarah's book. Some of Clive Barker's short stories featured in anthologies in 2015 were just like 2 to 5 pages long, and I thought those were too short. But like you said, Rob, sometimes it's more about how the stories make you feel than how it takes to read them.
Yeah.
So, I bought this anthology on Kindle that had like a Clive Barker story, and it was just like 2 or 3 pages long.
Was that the one about the writer who couldn't think of a story?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I bought that too. It was very short.
Yeah, that's the one that's in that book that I've had on pre-order or on order for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Because they lost the autographs?
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, why can't I?
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. Yeah, they sent out the autograph pages to every single author, and then they got lost in the mail.
Oh God, that's terrible.
God.
The last thing I was unhappy about 2015 was the fact that the Nightbreed Comics from Boom Studios ended on a couple of really bad issues, and I really felt disappointed about that. I
agree with you totally on that.
And we had a good 3 years of Boom having a really good relationship with Clive Barker properties, and things were so exciting, and Hellraiser was up and down, and Nightbreed started out so strong, and then just sort of petered out.
Yeah, I was sorry to see that happen.
They did the Next Testament too, didn't they?
Yeah, right. The Next Testament and Hellraiser, and like 3 Hellraiser series, and Nightbreed.
Yeah. So that's my last peeve of 2015 was the fact that I had so many high hopes for the Nightbreed comics, and then I felt like I was a little let down by those last 2-3 comic issues.
Yeah, was it like 9 through 12, right?
Yeah. 9 through 12. It just felt like they were rushed.
Yeah.
They had to rush it or something, because the first 8 are so good. Yeah, they really were.
It seems like that happens in comics a lot, where they think they have all the time in the world, and they take so much time for exposition, and then they hear, oh, by the way, you got to wrap this up in 4 issues or whatever. Like, oh crap.
Yeah, the thing is, I think they knew from the beginning that they had 12 issues, so it's not like they were caught off guard or anything.
So just poor planning.
I know. But still, those first 9 issues of Nightbreed are pretty good. They add a lot to the mythology of Nightbreed. They were very, very faithful to the Nightbreed Chronicle origin stories for some of these characters that they were using. So that was great to see. Like the Shuna Sassy storyline, the Peliquin storyline, and
Well, Boom will start over after, like, they'll do a run of 12 or 20 or 18 or something, and then they start over at number 1 and give it a different subtitle. So it could have been like Nightbreed, something else. Nightbreed, what's next, or whatever, and it would have started at number 1. So maybe maybe the artists knew that first run was going to end at 12, but maybe they learned too late that they were never going to do another Nightbreed comic again.
Yeah, but overall, 2015 was a very positive year. It was very entertaining in terms of books that came out, stuff that we ended up getting as support. The amount of support that we got from Seraphim, Century Guild, and it was just a lot of things that happened for the first time in this year that I had never experienced before, like seeing Clive Barker play, getting to read stories from Clive Barker that were written when he was a young man and stuff like that. And I had a very good time being a Clive Barker fan in 2015.
Yeah, I did too. Definitely. I know a lot of this stuff. Like all this new stuff. Like I got a lot of books from the store. Like what was that? First Tales I was able to get.
Oh, okay. Did you read The Candle in the Cloud?
I read the whole. Yeah, it was very good. I haven't read Chiliad yet, but I did read Maximilian Bacchus. I got a copy of that signed.
Oh, yeah.
Both That's a great story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was so happy when Maximilian Bacchus came out.
Got the Tortured Souls book.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like I said, y'all got me back into this stuff, and
that's great.
Just,
help. And we didn't know that at the time that there would be so many little, small releases happening in between these large ones.
Yeah.
And I think, thanks to the all the people at Seraphim, they're digging through all these archives and looking for things that they can put together, and I think it's been awesome for collectors. Some of the things, like you said, get a little bit too specialized or too expensive, but for the most part, these small little, you said, these small little hardcovers have been, for like 30 to or 25 to $60 or whatever. Those have been great.
I'm hoping that Dark Regions Press does another Clive Barker. Sure, they'll do another release this for 2016.
Yeah,
sure. Because I think the body book sold very well. I don't know if it's all sold out now, but it was like 60% last time I checked, and that was like a couple months ago. So
I'd like to see more short story compilations that are all pure Clive Barker stories.
Yeah.
That we haven't read already. Or they could even collect the ones that were published in like old out-of-print
like Coming to Grief and Pigeon and Teresa and On Amen's Shore. Yeah. I think I remember you.
Go ahead.
On Amen's Shore takes place in one of the islands of Quiddity, right?
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Thought it did.
Oh.
No, it seems like it would, but it's actually like an alternate dimension that's connected to Earth through Quiddity.
Yeah, some of those stories I haven't been able to hunt them down yet. Not because they're hard to find, but it's just because sometimes you just have other priorities. So I haven't been able to see them. I know you sent me a book once that had one of those stories.
Yeah, I think I sent you Primeval, right? That had did it have Coming to Grief in it?
I think it did. Yeah. But, like you said, I would go for another compilation of short stories like that.
And like even Hermione and the Moon would be another one to put in there, too.
What about that story you told me about the ghost that comes out on Halloween?
Yeah, that's it. It's called The Departed, and it's also called Hermione and the Moon, depending on
that sounded really cool.
Which book it's published in.
I think that The Departed was the name of a theater adaptation of Hermione and the Moon. Wasn't it?
It's also called The Departed in books.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's called the Hermione and the Moon in like Year's Best Science Fiction and Fantasy Volume 16, or no, Volume 6. And
there you
then,
go.
But then in another book, it's called The Departed. I think in the one that I have.
So I would just like to take this opportunity to ask our audience to tell us what were your highlights of 2015 as a Clive Barker fan.
Yeah.
Give us your feedback. Post it on our Facebook wall. Tweet at us to @BarkerCast, and leave a comment on our blog at clivebarkercast.com.
Ginger Nuts of Horror, we want to hear your response.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that about? Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy.
And we still managed to talk for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not all of it's going to make it to the episode.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Force Awakens at the beginning, but yeah.
Oh, I wasn't recording during that.
Okay. Well,
So
thanks,
we're at
guys.
1 hour 55 on the recording, so that's going to be pretty close.
Please leave us feedback. Leave us an iTunes review. And check out Jorte Calendar, Jorte Calendar.
Yeah. The Clive Barker Podcast, or Barkercast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This podcast and site are a labor of love by the fans for the fans. News, features, and show notes for this episode can be found at www.clivebarkercast.com. Go to iTunes and please leave us a review. Reviews really help us get the word out about Clive Barker. You can also find us on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Doubletwist, Blackberry, and Pocketcast. We have a Facebook page, so come on and like our Facebook page and join the Occupy Midian group for lots of discussion about Nightbreed and other Clive Barker stuff. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. Opening theme by Mark Buckle.